Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a super fascinating look at the physical and physiological aspects of physical education and sports. We're going to completely unpack exactly how our bodies grow, develop, and actually prepare for athletic performance. We're taking textbook science and turning it into a real, practical guide for your own biology. Let's get right into it.
Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to quickly cover growth versus development, the internal and external forces shaping our bodies, the timeline of human development, the actual physiology of warm-ups, and finally, specific methods of warming up. Starting right off with Section 1, growth versus development, understanding the basics. We really need to unblur the lines between these two terms. People use them interchangeably all the time, right? But in sports science, they mean entirely different things. Looking at the breakdown here, there's a really clear separation. Growth is a measurable, tangible, biological process. It's strictly quantitative. Think of it as the physical change in your height, weight, and size just due to cell division. And, importantly, it stops at a certain age. Your heredity sets the limit there. But development? That is a lifelong qualitative journey. It's not just physical. We're talking cognitive, social, and emotional changes too. It's all about your emerging capabilities. Basically, you can measure growth with a tape measure, but you observe development through someone's mature behavior and skill acquisition. Okay, moving on to Section 2, the internal and external forces shaping our bodies. Because neither growth nor development happens in a vacuum, you know.
Our bodies are actually shaped by this incredibly complex cocktail of factors. It all starts with heredity, right? That's the biological blueprint passed down from our parents that dictates our innate physical structure. Then we have hormones. Our endocrine glands act as these vital chemical messengers. For instance, if your thyroid gland doesn't release the right amount of thyroxine, your skeletal and muscular growth is literally directly affected. But we also have external factors that we can totally control. Nutrition provides the actual fuel, the calories for functional development, and then there's exercise. Actually, a really cool fact from the text, muscles literally grow through use and shrink or atrophy through disuse. Exercise builds that muscle strength by pumping up your circulation and delivering nutrients and oxygen right where they're needed.
Now, here's a crucial point. While we naturally focus on diet and exercise, there are surprising environmental factors that can completely hinder normal physical development. A prime example here is pollution. We almost always think of outdoor smog, right? But indoor pollution, things like lead exposure from old deteriorating paint, is incredibly harmful. It basically gets absorbed into the growing bodies of children and physically obstructs the normal development of the brain and other vital organs. It's a pretty stark reminder of just how deeply our physical environment impacts our physiological development.
Up next, Section 3, stages of human development. Let's trace the specific physiological milestones we all hit from birth straight through our teenage years. Let's look at this chronological journey. We start out with early childhood, which is marked by absolutely tremendous rapid growth. By age 3, a kid typically doubles in height and quadruples in weight. It's wild. Then we move into middle childhood. The physical development here is way less dramatic. It's much more slow and steady, right up until puberty hits. This is really the time for building physical competence and refining those motor skills. Finally, we hit adolescence, which brings that second massive accelerated growth spurt. Between 12 and 18 years old, you might shoot up a massive 15 to 20 centimeters in height. This is also when sexual maturation occurs, though the exact timing on that varies wildly depending on the individual.
Which brings us to Section 4, the physiology of warm-ups. We're pivoting now from academic biology to practical physical education. We know how bodies grow, but how do we actually prep them for intense action?
The text outlines two main types of preparation here. This highlights the absolute crucial difference between general body awakening and sport-specific readiness. Both are totally necessary, but they serve completely different physiological purposes.
Now, you might be wondering, why do we do this at all? Well, warming up isn't just some formality before a game. It is hardcore science. A proper warm-up takes about 10 to 40 minutes and safely brings your body to a state where it can respond to nerve signals lightning fast. By doing this, you're actually producing a 2 to 3 degree rise in your core body temperature, and that exact temperature bump physically decreases the viscosity of your joint fluids. Think of it like heating up engine oil so the gears can move smoothly without grinding. It pumps up blood flow, prevents tearing in your tendons and ligaments, and literally makes your movement way more efficient.
Going back to those two types of warm-ups, here's how they break down. A general warm-up uses light aerobics, think light jogging or skipping, just to raise your overall pulse and body temp using your large muscle groups. It's basically about getting the system booted up.
But a specific warm-up, that requires much more vigorous, specially tailored movements. Like if you're playing basketball, your specific warm-up is going to be practicing layups and free throws. If you're a shot putter, you're doing gliding practice and shifting the shot between your hands. It directly wires your neuromuscular coordination for the exact demands of what you're about to do.
Okay, moving right into Section 5, methods of warming up on the field. How do we actually achieve that perfect 2 to 3 degree temperature rise in reality?
Well, here's what a general warm-up physically looks like out on the field. You've got these simple foundational movements: lunging, stretching, bending, and jumping. It is deliberately simple because the goal here is absolutely not exhaustion. The goal is a gradual, steady increase in intensity to act as a pulse raiser.
But here's what's genuinely fascinating. The text points out that traditional exercise is actually only one method. Aside from moving around, athletes use some pretty surprising techniques to prep their bodies. Massaging muscles, for example, is incredibly effective. It helps clear out lactic acid, aids in recovery, and improves muscle tone. Or taking a hot water bath. That artificially raises your body temp and gets your blood circulating before your foot even touches the field. And get this, even just sipping a small hot beverage, like tea or soup, can stimulate your body functions and safely prep your internal systems for competition. How cool is that?
To put it all together, if you are using exercise, your warm-up needs to follow these progressive rules. You do not just sprint right out of the gate. Step 1, start with a continuous, slow run just to wake the body up. Step 2, move all parts of your body, head to toe, but without tiring yourself out. Step 3, progressively scale things up from low to high intensity. And finally, Step 4, after about 10 to 15 minutes of this buildup, you end with short, fast sprints. Your biological target here is hitting a heart rate of 120 to 140 beats per minute. That right there is the scientific sweet spot for athletic readiness.
Finally, considering everything we've unpacked in this explainer, from the cellular differences between growth and development, all the way to reducing muscle viscosity, you really have to ask yourself a question. We can't control our genetic blueprint, right? And our childhood growth spurts are long gone. But we are absolutely in control of how we treat and prep our physiological machinery right now, today. Based on the hard science, are you truly giving your body the warm-up it deserves before you compete? Definitely something to think about next time you step onto the field. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.